You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and just like any other time, we have another amazing guest. Today's guest, man, I'm excited for this show. I'm sure this topic is going to be timely for a lot of people. It's going to be a good one. We have our special guest today, Ralph Estep Jr. He is an accountant, a podcast host, a author, a farmer, a husband, and a father and business coach. So, man, I can probably spend 20 minutes on his resume. But before we do that, we have a special offer for our listeners, our viewers today. He has a special gift for us. If you just go to his website, AskRalphPodcast.com/refocus. We'll put our show notes and across the screen. We're going to learn, like I said, all about him. So first and foremost, Ralph, thank you for your time today. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, my friend. I'm blessed, and I'm glad to be on the show here with you today.
Well, I can't wait to talk about this topic because, like I said in the beginning, how to break free of living paycheck to paycheck using biblical principles. I think this is a very important message and timely. So if you can, kind of unpack that topic out for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like they're on this financial treadmill, feel like they're never getting to their goals. They're imagining a life where they're living beyond that paycheck to paycheck. Because here's the problem. The hierarchy of needs basically starts at the baseline of food, clothing, and shelter. If you can't get past that, it's about impossible to get to that next level, to get to that idea, how you serve in the kingdom, how are you doing other things in your life. So I've put together these thoughts about how to move beyond, because the truth is, it's bondage. It's you're held like a prisoner in that living paycheck to paycheck. And I've laid out 7 biblical principles of how to get you past that. If you want, we can jump right into them.
Yeah, let's do that because, like I said, I think people are really going to have a fun time taking some mental notes and hopefully go back and use it as a masterclass.
Yeah, the first thing, and I start this with most of the things I talk about on my daily podcast, and that is seek God's wisdom first. I mean, that's where you got to start. You got to realize that you don't have the ability to do this on your own. You've got to look to God to help you on that. And it talks about in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Because if you try to do this alone, you're going to be right back where you're at when you started. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to feel like there's no hope. So that's the first thing, is seek God's wisdom first. And the second thing you got to do, you hear a lot of people say, well, Ralph, if I seek God's wisdom, then he'll take care of it. He'll take care of it. Well, it don't work that way. So the second thing you've got to do is you've got to work diligently. If you want to break free from the feeling of living paycheck to paycheck, you got to be willing to work hard, because here's a dirty little secret. It's not going to happen overnight. And guess what? It's not going to happen in a week, and it's probably not going to happen in a month. It's all about building that consistency. And the Bible talks about this in the book of Colossians. It says in chapter 3, verse 23, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. So God's putting it in his own word. He's saying to you, listen, you want to break free of this bondage, I'll help you. But you got to put the work in. So that's my second principle. Third one, let's move on to live below your means. Well, that seems like a pretty straightforward thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about that. If you want to get off that treadmill, then stop living beyond your means, because that's the basic of the whole thing. You're going to have to embrace, a lot of people talk about living on beans and rice. You've got to have that mentality that you may have to have a season of living a little tighter than what you want to be. If you want to get to that point where you're going to break free of that bondage and finally move forward, you've got to learn to live below your means. The book of Proverbs 21:20 says, precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it. So ask yourself, am I devouring what God is giving me? Am I eating it all up and leaving nothing left? The fourth thing, again, this one is not rocket science. None of the things I'm talking about here are rocket science. Number 4, avoid debt. Seems pretty logical, right? If you want to break free of paycheck to paycheck, you need to stop sending your paycheck to the loan companies. It really starts there. And the Bible cautions us all throughout the Bible about this. One of the best verses of the Bible, and I talk about this on my show all the time, is Proverbs 22:7. It says this, it says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Think about that for a second. You've become a slave to your debts. You want to break free of that bondage. You got to get out of debt. You got to stop getting your paycheck. You think you're living paycheck to paycheck because you're sending it to the loan company every week. You're sending it to the car dealer. You're sending it to the car note. You're sending it to the mortgage. You're sending it wherever you're sending it. Payday loans, that's eating people up too. So that's number 4, avoid debt. Number 5, save consistently. If you want to break free from that paycheck to paycheck, you got to find a way to pay yourself first. If you're not paying yourself first, you're never going to get past that point of breaking free from that bondage. You got to do that. In the book of Proverbs 21:5, it says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. And see, that's what I'm talking about when I say an intentional spending thing. A lot of people talk about budgets and all that sort of thing, and that's part of it. But in my view, it sounds a lot better if you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to give you an intentional spending plan. See, it says another book of the Bible, and read this. It says Proverbs 30:25. It says, the ants are a people not strong, yet they provide their food in the summer. Well, of course, that's right, because they're saving. They're putting away for tomorrow. You want to break free from the bondage living paycheck to paycheck? You got to start saving. Now, this next one's going to send you for a loop. You're going to be like, Ralph has lost his mind. But number 6 is give generously. And you might think, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You said to me, I've got to live below my means. I got to save money. Well, now you want me to give generously. Yeah, I do. And here's why. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 and 7, the point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. And in Luke 6:38, it says, give and it will be given unto you. If you're not honoring God's with the first fruits of what you have, if you're not being that cheerful giver, because the Bible speaks volumes about this. If you want to break free from that living paycheck to paycheck, start by giving generously. And that's more than the 10% tithe. I mean, that's being generous about it. A lot of people say to me, Ralph, you've lost your mind. How am I going to do that? I can't make ends meet. Well, try it and see what happens, because God will bless that first fruit. And the last but not least thing, number 7, and I have a bonus one we'll get to in a second. Number 7 is be content. You know, we live in a world where we're surrounded by social media and TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and this and that. We're beaten daily with the gotta haves. Well, you ever thought maybe I need to just be content with what I have? You want to break free of that bondage? You want to break those chains of living paycheck to paycheck? You got to find contentment in what you already have. One of the things I tell people on my show all the time is maybe you start every morning by writing a gratitude journal and thank God for what you already have. Because the thing is, when you do that, you'll realize, wait a minute, I got food, I got clothing, I got a roof over my head. Now, I might not have the newest iPhone. I might not have the newest Android phone. I might be driving an old jalopy car. But the question really is, are you content with what you have? So let's go right back to the Bible. The book of Philippians chapter 4, 11 and 12 says, not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. And that's the key. You got to find that place of contentment. And once you find that, you will find great gain. It says that in 1 Timothy 6:6, but godliness with contentment is great gain. And Hebrews 13:5 says, keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. So that's the top 7. I'm going to throw a bonus one in. The bonus one in is practice honesty in all your financial dealings. If you leave behind that bondage living paycheck to paycheck, it requires honesty in all your financial dealings. You got to pay your taxes. You got to pay your bills. You got to treat people straight. You got to be fair with them. You think God's going to bless you if you're a rascal? So I could tell you how to be a rascal and fill your bank account and you have a beautiful car and all that stuff, but you're going to be in trouble when you stand before the Lord and say, what did you do with your sorry self? Well, I got this and I got that. Okay, but you were a cheater. You were a robber. You stole from everybody. I know that I don't want that on my conscience. And that comes right from Leviticus chapter 19, verses 35 and 36. It says, you shall do no wrong in judgment in measures of length or weight or quantity. So you got to be honored about all those things. And man, and once you do those things, And it seems so simple. Those 7 things I laid out, they will impact your life. Maybe you're not being able to sleep at night because the bills are piling up. You got this anxiety about it. This is the cure to that. It's a cure for that constant worry. It's a cure for being trapped in that loop. And listen, here's the thing I'm going to say to you. You're not alone in this. This is a common problem. Like I said, we live in a culture right now where as a country, we live beyond our means.
Yeah.
We're borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And think about that in the macro terms of economics. It's like, wait a minute. We're not even setting a lesson as a country for our own selves. Think about the lesson we're teaching our kids. You want to raise kids that are strong. You want to raise kids that are faithful and all that kind of stuff. And you don't know how to raise your own finances. Good luck. Because they're little sponges. They're looking at everything. You want to get your house in order, get your finances in order. Now, I know I laid a lot on you, so you might have some questions for me there.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is great material for us to digest. But my audience, once again, talking to our guest today, Ralph Estep Jr., and we're talking about the topic, how to break free of living paycheck to paycheck using biblical principles. I want to pick up on the fact that you were talking about if you want your house in order, get your finance in order. I think that's a good way to look at it, and to make that connection deeper for our audience. If you could kind of give us a story of the process of you seeing change in your own life as you started to apply these principles, and how did that cure maybe the frustrations and the anxiety of not knowing what your future could be like?
Absolutely. A couple of years back, I was recording my show today for this Sunday, and I was talking about this morning. I remember one night I couldn't sleep. I was up at 3:00 in the morning. I was sitting at my desk, and I just had this fear come upon me. I'm looking across. I got a stack of bills. I looked on the wall. There's a picture of my 2 boys and my wife, and I'm thinking, am I letting them down? I had to figure out, like, how do I take this step to get myself in order? Because here I am, an accountant. Here I am telling people how to manage their finances, and my stuff is a wreck. And I finally came to a point, I'm like, God, I'm giving it back to you, man. I can't do this on my own. I've tried. I was living a life where I had the Corvette, I had the beach house, I had the Rolex watch, I had the this, I had the that, I had the newest stuff. And you know what, my friend? Guess what I felt like at the end? I was empty. And what I finally had to do, and this is what I challenge the listeners to do, let go of that stuff. You got to be diligent. You got to work at it. But so that's what I did. I said to God, look, here's what I'm going to do. Every day I'm going to start with prayer. What will you have for me today? And I'm going to end with prayer. I'm going to look at being grateful. I'm going to write that gratitude journal every day. I'm going to find a community of people that can support me. I think that's a key thing. You got to find that community of support. Maybe it's a small group. Like in my case, I joined a small group at church of other men. And we held each other accountable, because accountability is a big thing too. You're not going to do it on your own. But then you also have to have grace for yourself. You got to realize that you're not going to master this overnight. Like, I found that I made mistakes. I questioned everything. I questioned, God, what is your purpose for me? I turned 50 2 years ago, and this is probably the best way to explain this. And I remember sitting there one day, and I said, what am I going to do with myself? I'm sitting here at my desk, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with myself? From a financial standpoint, I'm in good shape. God has blessed me richly, but how can I impact the rest of the world? That's when I decided to start doing this podcast. Because I realized there's people out there that are struggling, and this is my mission field. And that's what I try to do. I try to help you. That's why I put together this list of 7 biblical things, because look, I could give you a list of secular things and say, do this and this and this. And I could show you how to be wealthy. But if at the end of the day, there's no purpose to it, I think that's the key to it. See, I try to marry these 2 worlds, this world of faith and finance. So a lot of people think they're separate, but at their very core, they are connected, because here's the absolute truth. Nothing that you have is yours. Now, people get real angry when I say that, because like, Ralph, I bust my rear end. I work hard. I do all these things. That's fine. It's not yours. They look at me like, what are you talking about? I said, everything you've been given is a gift from God, and your job is to steward it wisely. So if you're failing in your finances, guess what you're doing? You're not going to like what I'm going to say. You're failing God. And that's harsh. I know that's strong. Like, a lot of people say, Ralph, that is strong, but it's the truth. If God has given you finances, then your obligation is to steward them. So how do you do that? You ask for his help. That's what he wants. See, that's the coolest thing. Think about this. If you're not a Christian person, here's the simple truth of Christianity. We're getting ready to come up to the Christmas holiday. And here's what I heard an old Baptist minister say this one time. I thought this was perfect. And he said, I can sum up Christianity real simple. He said, remember when you was a kid and Christmas morning and there was a Christmas tree and all these gifts underneath of it? And he said, you had that anxiety. You couldn't wait. You want to go down and tear into those Christmas gifts. And he said, think about this. Christianity is as simple as, do you open the gift or not? And it trips people. They can't understand it. They're like, wait a minute, but there's rule. No, there's not. It's really as simple as, do you open the gift? You want to fix your finances, open the gift. Pray about it. Read the Bible, because guess what? The Lord is going to put discernment on you. He's going to start checking you. He's going to say, check Ralph. Wait a minute, dude, you can't live like that. If you're spending all your money, how are you going to give me money on church on Sunday? If you're spending all your money, how are you going to save for the future? And that's why I say it's a balance of faith. It's a balance of being diligent. It's all those things wrapped up into one. And so that's my story. So now on a daily basis, my goal is to reach one person to help them. That's why I'm on this show with you today. There's somebody out there listening right now that is struggling. There's somebody out there right now that is thinking, how am I going to feed my kids today? How am I going to make that rent payment? How am I going to make that car payment this month? There is hope for you. And I'm hoping that you're listening today. I hope you make a move on this, because here's the thing I say on my show all the time. It's great to have good intentions. But remember this, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So if you don't put those things into action, then you're not going to get anywhere. So put them into action, pray about it, be grateful, and look for opportunities to serve, which again, that doesn't make any sense, right? That's contradictory to culture. Look for ways to give, look for ways to be generous, because it will be multiplied. That's just the truth.
And speaking of taking action, for our listeners and our viewers, if you want to open a gift, Ralph has a gift for you. If you go to this address we're going to put on the screen, the show notes, it's AskRalphPodcast.com/refocus. And next thing I want to ask you is, when you look at yourself being a businessman, a professional, what are some things you can share with our listeners who be entrepreneurs out there or business owners, how biblical principles have helped your business be healthy? Because I think it's a difference between a healthy business versus just trying to make the next sale.
Yeah, and I wrote a book about that, actually, and it's called the Gospel of Entrepreneurship, and you can find that right on my website also. And what I talk about in that book is you don't have to check Jesus at the door when it comes to your business. The truth is, you got to live out your character. People will come to you based on your character. I do this in my own practice. Have I lost clients over it? Yep, and that's okay. At the end of each of my emails I send out, I have a Bible verse. When you come in my lobby, I got Bibles for you to take with you. I'm not going to sit there and beat you over the head with the Bible, but if you ask me, I'm going to lay it out for you, because that's my mission field. So you ask a simple question. If I'm a business owner, what makes you you is your character. What makes you you is your spiritual belief. So treat people fairly. Like I had a client in a couple months ago, and he says, Ralph, I just don't understand why I can't get ahead. And I looked him square in the eyes and said, because you're robbing people, dude. You just got done telling me about how you made this much money on this sale and you did this and you did this. He goes, yeah, but it was there for the taking. I said, you think God's going to honor that? See, that's the problem. People want to be dirty, rotten scoundrels, and then they go to church on Sunday and think, oh, everything's going to be fantastic because I'm going to put a big wad of money in the collection plate this Sunday, but their life is a mess. See, it's all at that core. And see, what happens is, when you live that core, people will respond to it. I've had people come through my door and say to me, I am meeting with you now because I saw on your Facebook that you're a Christian. And I said, look, I'm not worthy of that. I said, I'm a sinner. Here's a dirty little secret. We're all sinners. We're all doomed to hell, except for the grace of God that is a free gift. I go back to that gift thing again, right? So in your business, if you're a starting up entrepreneur, pray about your business. Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for, I want to have that. Listen, I've been there. I had the Corvette. Like I said, I'm not being that to boast. I'm not being braggadocious about it. I got that car, dude. I went into the car dealership, picked that car. Man, I was in Fat City driving down the road. Look at me. Right? And then I got home and I was like, what a moron. Now I had this big car loan to pay. I've had clients that say to me, hey, look, you know what? I got to show people that I'm successful. People love success.
Yeah.
And I look them in the eye and said, no, what people love is somebody they can count on. What people love is somebody they can trust. What people love is somebody they can rely on, somebody they can partner with. I don't care what you drive. I don't care what kind of watch you wear. I don't care about any of those things. And that's where people get themselves messed up. Again, looking around at social media, that social media is destroying our world. It's making people see things that don't exist. I was doing a show yesterday. We were talking about how to keep from going in debt during Christmas, how to keep from being broke. And I made a comment there. I said, you got to remember, social media is snapshots. That's the highlight reel. Like when you're watching sports on the weekends, that's what social media is. It's the highlight reel.
Yeah.
But what they don't show you is that cat that made that spending and then come February still paying on that credit card loan. So you got to think the same way in your business. Every day you've got to make a pledge to yourself that you are going to live out those Christian ideals. That's why I added that last one. Be honest in your financial dealings. You want to get ahead, pray about it. You want to get ahead, bring Christ into your business. You don't have to check him at the door. Now look, will you lose people? Yeah, absolutely, because there's a lot of rascals out there. But I'm not worried about the rascals because there's enough people who of faith will come to you and say, you know what, Ralph, you do make a difference. I had a Muslim guy say to me the other day, it's like a couple of weeks ago now to think about it. He says, I see you got that podcast. I said, yeah, I said, it probably wouldn't fit with you because you're not a Christian. He goes, no, dude, I get it. He says, you stand for something. I'd rather you stand for something than stand for nothing. And then now maybe that's an opportunity. Maybe he listens to my podcast and he starts to think about, maybe Ralph's got some good ideas there. I don't know. I'm going to plant those seeds. I'm going to water those seeds. I'm going to fertilize those seeds because like I said to you at the beginning, this is my mission field. Well, every business owner has to see it the same way. They've got to see that your business is your mission field. If God is blessing you, he's putting you in front of people for a purpose. Use that purpose. Do something with it because if you squander it away, again, are you a good steward? Think about this. This is my goal. When I get to stand before Christ, and he's going to say to me, Ralph, what do you do with your sorry self? I'm going to say, man, I tried. And I'm hoping he says, you know what? You're right. When you helped the least of mine, you helped me. And that's what I think you got to take away with that. When you're in your business, I'm not saying you can't make money. I'm a capitalist. I'm not saying don't work hard to make money, but do it for the right reasons. If you're not doing it for the right reasons, you are going to wake up one day and realize it's all for naught. You're going to find yourself at 3 a.m. like I did and go, what is my purpose? Find your purpose and define it and live out your purpose. That's the goal in life. It's all about that relationship with Christ.
Once again, you've been listening to Am Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Ralph Estep Jr., and we've been talking about how to break free of living paycheck to paycheck using biblical principles. Once again, he has a gift for our listeners and our viewers. If you go to his link, it's going to be on the screen in the description. Ask ralphpodcast.com/refocus. And can believe time is already almost up. But when you look at the opportunities that someone who hears this, I'm going to switch this up a little bit, and they can literally make a choice that can start the process to a better future. What's one thing that, despite what their story is, where they come from, that they can begin at the moment they start listening to this episode? What's one thing that they can just say, okay, I'm going to do this now? What would you say to them?
Ask for prayers, ask for forgiveness, ask for grace. I heard a guy say the other day, I was listening to a podcast while I was walking, and I've been through the battle with losing weight. I'm 100 pounds lighter than I used to be. Well, guess how I started doing that? I started one step at a time. And that's what I'm telling people. Start small and build that habit. I heard the other day, the saying was, yard by yard is hard, but inch by inch is a cinch. So start where you are. Say to God, look, dude, I have been down the road. It didn't work. It can start that simple and you will find a transformation. Like I said, it ain't going to happen overnight. But you've got to have that idea of I'm going to start building those habits. Maybe it's as simple as writing a budget for yourself. Where do I want to go my money? To look at, measure it. What is it? I work with clients, your listeners can call and schedule a call. You can schedule a call with me. I'll come right alongside of them and help them get started because that's the hardest part. Once you get started, it will start to build on itself. And I love what you just asked me because you can start small. You can say, you know what? Instead of going to Starbucks and getting that $10 coffee, I'm going to make coffee at home. I'm not picking on Starbucks. Don't misunderstand me. If you got the money to buy I don't drink coffee. So for me, it's not a big deal. But if you got the money to buy coffee at Starbucks, God bless you. That's fantastic. It's gainfully employing people. It's fantastic. But if you say to me, but my kids need coats and I can't afford to buy them coats and you're down at Starbucks buying a $10 latte, you got to look in the mirror, my friend, and say, what am I looking at? Because the problem's staring right back at you. So that's the thing. So I'm going to answer your question differently. I'm going to say this. What you can finally do is realize that you are the problem. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming, my boss doesn't pay enough. My bills are too high. Start looking in the mirror and say, I am the problem. And that gives you the ability to make a decision because if you're the problem, you can fix it. And I don't care where you are. You can start wherever you are. Listen, here's the thing I'm going to tell you, and you may not believe this. Some of the wealthiest people I've ever met are some of the most nasty people. They're some of the most unhappy people. And some of the happiest people I met are the people that don't have two nickels to rub together. What's the story to that? It's their mindset. So change that mindset. Start today. Do something small. Measure where your money's going. Have a plan. All those things. But it really starts with seeking God's wisdom first because he will give it to you.
Once again, this is Am Refocused Radio, having a great conversation with Ralph Estep Jr. Go to the website that he has a gift for our viewers and our listeners. It is askralphpodcast.com/refocus. And I would say just definitely be in touch with what he's doing and take an opportunity to enjoy his resources that he's providing to you all. Thanks to him being able to set that up for us. I mean, that was fast. He set it up real fast and quick. And I appreciate him taking time to create these resources for our listeners and our viewers. Again, we're talking about a topic, how to break free of living paycheck to paycheck using biblical principles. Ralph has been a great show. I learned a lot, and I hope our audience also appreciate the little masterclass they got today. Appreciate your time. And if there's anything you want to drop for us, if there's events or books or anything you want us to know about, what's on your mind?
I do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Ask Ralph Live. I'll encourage you to go to that. If you've got questions, I'll answer them for absolutely free. Don't charge a dime for that. It's 1 hour every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can find that by going to askralphpodcast.com/live. We just launched that this past Tuesday. So God willing, we're going to keep doing it. But it's an opportunity to meet with the community, see how other people are. Because here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to leave you with. There is hope. You're not in this alone. God intends for you to be prosperous, and he'll give you the tools you need to do it. Surround yourself with people like me. And I'm not the best at this. Look, God has given me this voice, and I'm going to use it. But take advantage of those resources. Come to my live show. Go to my website. I've got all kinds of resources. I got over 500 episodes of podcast things out there right now. I release a daily episode on audio, a daily episode in video. I do a blog post. So get that free resource I've given you, and then follow up with me and pick my brain. That's what I'm here for. And remember, you're not alone in this. You can do this. There is hope. There is, in fact, a positive way to get past where you are right now.
And also subscribe to his YouTube channel at As Ralph Podcast. He's on there as well. He has videos. I see he has a lot of content, a lot of good content. So once again, Ralph, I want to say thank you for your time, man.
You're very welcome, and God bless you.